Every moment you hesitate to speak your truth, a piece of your soul whispers, I deserve more. I have learned that life is not about forcing every emotion into submission, but rather about listening with gentle curiosity to the messages hidden in each breath. There is a wisdom that arises when we slow down to reflect, an echo of ancient truths that remind us to honor both our immediate needs and the quiet counsel of our future selves. In this dance between vulnerability and strength, I now see that the difficulties I once felt were not weaknesses, but invitations to embrace my whole self. There were days when I struggled to advocate for my own needs. I would speak softly, letting the opinions and demands of others drown out the faint call of my inner voice. I realized then that the courage to speak up is not about loud declarations, but about the quiet resolve that grows in the space between one breath and the next. I learned that self advocacy is a gentle art, one that begins with acknowledging that I have needs worth defending. I also battled the heavy chains of perfectionism and guilt. I was haunted by the thought that every misstep was a failure and every unspoken boundary a betrayal to myself. But through mindful reflection, I discovered that perfection is a myth. Imperfection is the soil in which growth takes root. I learned to forgive myself for every imperfect choice, understanding that each mistake was a stepping stone toward a wiser, more compassionate version of me. There were times when frustration would rise like a tide, and I found myself projecting my inner turmoil onto those around me. I realized that in blaming others, I was only amplifying my own pain. Instead, I began to see each moment of conflict as a mirror, an opportunity to look within and release the tension that had built up over time. In this practice of gentle self inquiry, I discovered that diffusing the blame starts with accepting responsibility for my own emotional landscape. At times, I feared being too controlling, worrying that setting boundaries might come off as rigid or unyielding. I learned that true strength lies in balancing clarity with kindness and standing firm while remaining open. When I started expressing my needs with a soft yet unshakable conviction, I found that those who truly cared for me respected my boundaries without a question. And then there was the silent expectation that others should intuit my needs. I would often find myself disappointed when they did not understand the unspoken language of my heart. I have come to know that communication is the bridge between souls, and it is my duty to express my truth clearly, not to assume that others will read my mind. Today I choose to be present, listening carefully to both the urgencies of now and the wisdom of what lies ahead. I honor my feelings, validate my experiences, and share my truth with compassion. In this practice, I have discovered that the art of boundaries is not about erecting walls, it is about building bridges, inviting connection, while protecting the sacred space of my inner being. I embrace this journey knowing that every honest word, every clear boundary, and every gentle act of self care lights the way to a future where I live fully, authentically, and with a heart unburdened by regret.